Welcome to season 2 of No Shelf Control, the podcast with books, booze, and banter, hosted by authors for readers, because let's face it, we're all bookworms at heart.
This season, we'll be chatting about book-to-screen adaptations and trending book talk books. I'm Lindsey Sparks.
And I'm Lindsey Pogue. Grab a cocktail, kick back, and enjoy the show.
Okay, so welcome to episode 17 of season 2 of the No Shelf Control podcast show, however you consume it. So today's book, we were both very excited about when we picked it. It's one that we've been had kind of waiting to pull out at a good moment.
Yeah.
It's a throwback.
Definitely a throwback.
And it's also a reread. A reread. So it's an adaptation book. So we read the book and we watched the adaptation, and we were so excited about this one that we actually did one of the Amazon Prime watch parties and watched it together. And then we have our chat that we have a ton of screenshots of that we'll share. And I might go through some of them if we want, but because I went through and edited them a little bit. But anyway, so the book and adaptation is Twilight.
Dun, da, da, da.
And oh my gosh, it was a revelation.
Yeah, it was an interesting week, to be sure.
Wow. I'm embarrassed for my past self.
Isn't that crazy?
But before we get to that,
yeah,
tell me what you're drinking.
I'm actually kind of feeling under the weather, so I just have water tonight. I don't have anything exciting, sorry. How about you? You got some red
wine. I figured, other than the fact that it's what I'm always drinking, it represents the vampire blood.
Oh, nice.
Or I guess the human blood that the vampires drink.
Oh, I guess so.
Unless you're a Khalid.
Yep. Mm. Yum, yum. And it's nice. You said that it's cold, so it's nice to have a nice red.
Yes. And I haven't had any wine in I don't know, a week. I don't know. It just hasn't sounded good. We've been really busy.
Mm-hmm.
So it tastes really good.
Good.
Yeah. So what have you been working on? Do you want to before we talk about what you're working on, do you want to complain for a minute?
Oh, I just yeah, I guess so my husband and I haven't gone on a trip in probably flown anywhere
since you got married.
Yeah, since we got married. And one of the things that we always said is, we really want to travel. I used to travel all the time. I've been to many countries, and I don't know. Anyways, life just gets busy and everything. So we had a conversation months ago about how, we're getting older, we're working way too hard, we're not traveling, we're not experiencing life. So we were going to grab the bull by the horns, so to speak. And his parents live in Costa Rica, and they had wanted us to come visit them. And we essentially said, we've come to visit you guys a few times, and it would be cool to kind of experience something else. So his parents were like, yeah, well, we want to go to Peru, so you guys can come with us and do that. So we got all excited, and it was kind of a pain in general because of where his parents are. And anyway, the whole way that it worked out, we have to fly to Costa Rica first, meet up with his parents, and then we all go to Peru together for this package deal that we got, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, long story short, obviously there's a lot going on in Peru right now. It's not safe to fly there. So now we have 20 days that we've been prepping for to take off, that has not been smooth sailing for many reasons. Lots of issues with travel vaccines and Kaiser, and just really random stuff that you would never think you would have to worry about. Finding somebody to look after the cats, while we're gone. So we have 17 shifts of people coming because everyone's busy, obviously. It happens to be during the holidays, which makes it even worse. It's all this, it's been a pain from the start. So now we have this, we aren't going to go to Peru. We're waiting for them to tell us they're going to give us back our money for this package deal. But now we have these tickets, these non-refundable tickets to and from Costa Rica with 20 days in between. And we don't really want to do that either. So there's just a lot of stuff up in the air, and we're supposed to leave in essentially on Tuesday, this next Tuesday. So this is a lot trying to figure out, and lots of coordinating, and yeah. So anyway, we'll get it sorted, but for now it's just annoying and makes me wonder why we keep trying to travel, because my sister this has happened to her so many times. She's been trying to go to multiple places in the last few years because she travels a lot as well. And the same thing keeps happening. There's so much political and civil unrest that she keeps, foregoing these trips, and just it's kind of like a lesson learned for us. We're just like, how maybe we rethink how we want to do this, because it's not going to be getting better, right? It's just going to either keep being frustrating or it's going to keep getting worse. So I don't know, but we'll get that sorted. So I have been like working like a mad woman trying to get a bunch of things done. I mean, we even moved book releases for this trip. So it's like been a really big upheaval, like just a big thing. This is a whole big ordeal. So anyway, trying to get a bunch of stuff done, and I've also been working on my pen name stuff, and that's pretty much all ready to go. But I'm like, I have so many things to be working on right now, and now trying to figure out this trip is just like kind of compounding everything. And so yeah, I've just got a lot going on, but I'm excited for the pen name stuff that I'll be talking about at some point probably. But yeah, I got Land of Fury is with Lauren now, the editor, and I'm really happy, really happy with it. So I'm excited about that. And Sea of Storms is finally up for pre-order for the audiobook, so that's good. And then yeah, I've just been doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff. I haven't gotten to do much creative stuff other than, reading Land of Fury, which was fun because I really like that story.
It's really good.
It's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun. So yeah, and I have all these ideas of little like side stories and stuff I want to write off of it too, or maybe like little extra bonus scenes or whatever. So I keep doing one of those things where like I keep making a list, and I'm like, God, I need like a list, not just put it somewhere. Like, Lindsey, you need to put it into Google Drive or something, because you have all these ideas, and I keep, I'm in the different place or whatever, and then I'll remember it later, I tell myself, famous last words.
Yeah.
But anyway, how about you?
I have been writing lots of things actually. I have been working on Darkness Between the Stars, which I am just like 2 or 3 chapters away from the end of the main characters portion, the main POV portion, so Tarset. And then I have 2 other POVs. I'm going to go back. I'm going to like do kind of a wonky second round with this. So I have them outlined, but I haven't written the other POV chapters, and there's like 12 to 14 of them, somewhere in that.
So you write around them and then come back later.
But I leave notes for myself, like these are the things that I need to mention, because those chapters take place in the present, whereas Tarset's, the main POV, takes place in the ancient past. But there's the big thing that's happening is affecting the people in both times. Yeah. And what we learn from the present helps us understand what's happening in the past, kind of. And I don't want to anyway. But I'm kind of excited about how I'm gonna do revisions / writing the other POVs. So I'm gonna go back to chapter 1, revise those because I love revising. I'm gonna revise that and then write the other POVs chapters
as they pop
when
up.
I get so then it really like feels cohesive and like logical, the things, instead of I was gonna go write those and then do the revision, but I was like, I feel like that's gonna lead to a lot of consistency issues. So I'm really excited about it. I also I had like a brilliant shower moment, and I came up with this like excellent storyline for the second POV character, who's a new POV character for this whole world. She's not a new character, but she's never had her POV voiced. And she's actually going to be the main character of the next series in the world. So I'm kind of like following that path that I set up in previous series. But she ended up just like, I just had this moment that I was like, oh my God, this is the greatest idea ever of like trying to work in what's going to happen in her series, but like little kind of like breadcrumbs that are kind of leading to where that's going. So I'm really excited about that.
That's exciting.
Yeah. And then I had my mid-December Patreon drop. So I released a new episode of the Knit Chronicles and the Knit Chronicles, and then All World Online Looking Glass. So my funny little like Atlantis Legacy All World Online crossover serial. And so those are always fun to write. And I'm so excited for next year when I am pure serialization. I cannot wait. I'm just like, give it to me. But that's not going to happen until the middle of the year.
I was going to say.
Yeah, I have to get through 2 more pre-orders. But I'm not going to put up a pre-order for Fateless Trilogy Book 3, the book after Darkness Between the Stars. I am just going to send people to Patreon because I'm going to start serializing it as soon as Darkness Between the Stars is out. I'm going to serialize Book 3. So, and then it'll go up for pre-order when I'm done with the serial version. But that's my plan. And I'm really excited about it. The serialization just feels right to me when I'm writing it. And like, it works well for my scattered brain to like switch between the stories, but like each like episode kind of has like an ending, but it's not like the ending, you know?
Right.
And then this isn't so much something that I'm working on, but has just definitely been like a thing that's omnipresent in my mind, which is the whole like AI art controversy situation. And so in case anybody hasn't been following, AI art has like really come under like a lot of scrutiny lately in terms of like how the AI art models are trained on copyrighted material, or basically just material that was like the artists didn't give consent to have their art train these algorithms. So it's not that the AI is using the art and like chopping it up and like sticking it together in new ways, like a collage or anything like that, but their art was used to train the AI algorithm. And so there's a lot of like, there's no laws that apply to this. It's like a very murky area. But like ethically, it's also a very icky feeling area. So I was all gung-ho into AI art, and now I'm just like halting that, like really pushing on the brakes. And so my poor Instagram feed has like 3 rows that include AI art, and then it just stops. So then I've been posting a lot more of my like human created art that I have commissioned, because I do have quite a bit actually. So I'm just focusing on sharing that right now. And I have so much more coming of human created art that it should keep me going for a little while.
Nice.
Until they can figure out a more ethical way to source the like trading images. And hopefully they can figure that out so that we can all get back to having fun with it.
How does that affect your YouTube channel thing that you were doing?
I have not done anything with it. So it's all stalled. So I'm bummed, but it didn't feel right. Yeah. So I want to make sure that I am, as a creator, obviously we want to support other creators,
right?
And not like give them the big old digital finger. So that's what I've got going on with that, which I'm pretty sad about. And I was on a podcast a while ago, but they finally released it, the episode on Sunday. It's an author podcast, but the subscriptions for authors podcast, which is actually kind of funny because I talked about how excited I was about AI art, and I was like, now everybody's gonna hate me.
Oh,
so that's cool.
No, I don't think they'll hate you, but if they go to try and look up your stuff and there isn't any or whatever, that might be.
Well, I did leave up. I didn't take down the Mid-Journey things that I had posted on my Instagram, and I still have it in my Discord. But I'm not posting anything new until they can figure out, until everybody can come to some sort of an agreement. So
good luck.
I know.
There's lots of big changes going on in the whole book talk thing that we were talking about.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're waiting to see. I mean, nothing has happened in the general populace yet, it doesn't sound like, but there's definitely legislation moving forward in the US regarding TikTok. So that's interesting to watch.
Banning it from specific devices and whatnot.
Federal employees, a lot of states have banned it from their employees' devices, and then now there's like federal legislation. But this has been leading me more, and I'm like, I don't know why I've been such a dummy and not been doing this anyway, but just leading me more towards YouTube, looking at YouTube shorts and stuff like that. So I spent some time this morning exploring that area. Finally signed up for YouTube Premium. So I don't have to watch the ads.
Nice.
So yeah. Yeah. Oh, and we sent out the arcs for the Raven Queen.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. So that felt really good. This is probably the earliest we have either of us ever had like a book.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah. Arcs, if you're on my arc team, that's not going out until January.
Yeah. Well, my arc team has it.
Yeah.
We got a review.
Nice.
On Goodreads. Did you see? I sent it to you in Discord.
Oh, I did see it. Yeah, I did. Sorry. It was like earlier, right? Yeah.
Yes. So yeah. All over the place as usual.
Yeah. For sure.
Have you, I know you've been under a lot of stress with your travel stuff, and just trying to get all your ducks in a row, but have you had any time to read for fun?
Yeah. Let me see, because I feel like I feel like I'm actually in one of those funks where like I'm so tired, I'm not really reading. I keep starting things and not finishing them. I pulled out a couple years ago for Christmas for book club. We got all silly, and then we all read this contemporary romance called A Hunk for Christmas. And anyway, and it's just super cute, fun. Like this woman is funny because this woman, you know, she hires an escort, or who she thinks is an escort, to go to her work party, but it ends up being the guy that the guy that essentially is taking business from her father. And anyway, but it's funny. It's a fun one. And I even pulled that one out trying to like get out of the funk, because I knew it's just a fun, silly one. And I have barely read any of that either. But I will tell you that currently I'm listening to a number of things. Neon Gods, which I know you've read that one.
Katie Roderick.
I am also started Winter's Fury, which I'm really enjoying, by A.E. Reyne, and that's very much, it's kind of more like what I write. It's very kind of like a historical fantasy feel to it. And then I just read or listened to, well, obviously Twilight, but also Saint, which is, I'm a huge fan of Adrienne Young, and so that was one
Priest
of her...
was the first one, right? Was there...
No, this is different. This is a different author.
Different? Oh
yeah, this is also like historical fantasy stuff. So anyway, so I just listened to Saint, and I enjoyed it. I love Adrienne Young, is a really good author. So anyway, yeah, so I'm kind of all over the place. Out of all those, I've only actually finished Saint, I think. So I don't dislike any of them. I'm just like, don't know what I'm feeling right now, so I'll pick something else.
Yeah.
And then I have
Neon Gods is fun. It's not like super deep or anything.
Yeah.
Just
so
fun
anyway,
and steamy. Cool.
What about you?
I, after finishing Twilight, I was like, I need a grown-up book. So not like a raunchy book, just like a book that I know.
Not YA.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not like there's not YA that I don't know. I haven't read Shatter Me in a long time, but I feel like Shatter Me was much more sophisticated. I don't know.
I know now it's hard to say, huh?
Yeah, I would have to read it again. Or even like, remember these were all read during our bookstore days, but not Twilight. Twilight I read earlier, but Shatter Me, and I think we even had like arcs of, I know Shatter Me is like a big story for us, so yeah, we definitely had that early. But like Across the Universe, I thought that book was great. Another like for YA that it has a little more depth.
Yeah, they live on the spaceship.
Yeah, that one is really cool. Beth Revis, I think, is the author, and I believe she does some indie publishing now as well. But anyway, I'm reading the next book in the Hollows series by Kim Harrison.
Nice.
So For a Few Demons More. I think it's the fourth book maybe, and I know Something Terrible is coming. So I'm like, I can't remember if it's in this book or in book 5, but there's like a thing.
Question before I forget, because I've been meaning to ask you. Have you watched the Cabinet of Curiosities show at all? So it's on Netflix. I think that's what it's called, the Cabinet of Curiosities or something. Anyway, it's Guillermo del Toro, and each episode is a different story. And Ben Barnes is one of the episodes.
Well, now I want to watch it.
Yeah.
Is it children
No.
friendly? No. Okay.
No. It's very like strange, somewhat scary, mostly just strange, like creepy stories.
Well, maybe I'll watch it this weekend morning.
If nothing else, you can just watch his if you want, just to see. But I don't know. I know you're not a huge. It's not like crazy horror, but it's also, I know you don't necessarily like super creepy, so I don't know.
I like Stranger Things, and
it's kind of on that level. It's like unnerving stuff.
Yeah. I mean, so it sounds like it's an anthology, like Black Mirror kind of thing.
So every, I think he found different people's short stories or horror stories or whatever, and he turned them into show. Like each one, they're not connected at all. So each show is a different story.
Yeah, I'll check it out. It's like I get stuck when there's like The Haunting of Hill House that I watched during that weird 6-month period after I had my first child. But I don't think I could watch it again. I think it would
I mean, I don't know what your creepometer is as far as what you can handle, but like Crimson Peak it's kind of like that. So if you
that was almost kind of campy to me. So
all right, well,
yeah, and it had Tom Hiddleston. So
yeah. Anyway, we'll check it out. See.
Cool. Yeah, I will look into it. That is all I'm reading is the Kim Harrison thing. I don't think I have any. Oh, we did watch Black Adam. That was fun.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Good action.
Yeah, good action. Yeah, okay. So should we get into the
let's do it
discussion?
Let's do it.
Of this piece of high literature?
Yeah.
Okay, so spoiler warning, spoiler. We're gonna spoil it.
There are spoilers.
In case you've been living under a rock.
There will be spoilers.
And have never actually read or watched it. Okay. I fall in love with the addictive, suspenseful love story between a teenage girl and a vampire, with the book that sparked a literary phenomenon and redefined romance for a generation. New York Times. Isabella Swan's move to Forks, a small, perpetually rainy town in Washington, could have been the most boring move she ever made. But once she meets the mysterious and alluring Edward Cullen, Isabella's life takes a thrilling and terrifying turn. Why do they keep calling her Isabella? Up until now, Edward has managed to keep his vampire identity a secret in the small community he lives in. But now nobody is safe, especially Isabella, the person Edward holds most dear. The lovers find themselves balanced precariously on the point of a knife between desire and danger. Deeply romantic and extraordinarily suspenseful, Twilight captures the struggle between defying our instincts and satisfying our desires. This is a love story with bite.
That is quite the blurb, isn't it? It's very dramatic.
It is very dramatic.
Or is it only because you read it that way and I'm like, damn.
I don't know, but I feel like it doesn't deliver. Okay. What format did you reread?
So actually, I have in the past, I've read the books, and so I actually listened to it this time. And when I say in the past, I mean when I first got them. So I listened to it, and the narration was all right.
I feel like I didn't look at the date that this was produced, but I assume it's like
way back when.
And I feel like audiobook productions and performances have really progressed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She didn't do any voices like
I know.
I was like,
Who's talking right now? Yeah, that
I was
was my
like,
problem
this
too.
is supposed to be Hunky Edward. Like, he sounds just like Bella.
Yeah, I know. I struggled with that too.
Yeah.
I that was the issue I had with the last one that we listened to as well, because I
That Stina
remember
narrated.
yeah, and I remember I was like, when you have to pay attention a lot to the dialogue tags and the cues because there's no change in the voice, it's distracting, because then you're like listening so hard because you're not like, it takes you out of the story because you're trying to follow it so much to figure out who's speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you first read Twilight? Did you read it when it first came out, or were you
I first read it. It wasn't when it first came out, because New Moon was out in hardcover. So it was, but it was, a while ago. I mean, it was before I even worked at the bookstore. So
I think I read it a little bit after you, because I can't believe I still have them. I have Twilight and New Moon in paperback, and then I have Eclipse.
Maybe that's what I have. Because I think I have 2 paperbacks and 2 hardcovers. I don't know.
I remember what originally made me read it, which was, I was a middle school teacher, and one of my students was sneaking reading under the desk. I was like, what are you doing? She was like a really good student. And I was like, why are you? Anyway.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, I had been seeing so many kids reading this book, and I was just like, well, if this is getting these kids who don't like to read, and I was like, I should see what it's all about. And then I became engrossed. And
well, talking about how our tastes have changed, I'm pretty sure I didn't know what Twilight was until the movie came out. And then
really?
I was like, I saw the movie, and then I was like, oh, this is like a series and people love it. And then I was like, oh, I want to know what happens next, and da 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 da. So I went and bought the first book.
I want to say that maybe at the same time as I saw that, the student reading that, I also saw a trailer for New Moon, because it was like,
maybe
the trailer was like when she bleeds, and then Jasper attacks her at her
oh yeah, no, I started reading it when the first movie came out, because I remember I made Dennis go watch it with me, and he was like, him and his friend Ross went, and they were staring at me the whole time.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw it at least twice in the movie theater. It's really yeah, it's really anyway, yeah.
I definitely, this is another so embarrassing. I swear I owned the DVD. I'm sure I watched it a lot of times. I can't imagine that I did.
I might even still have it. I don't know. I haven't looked at my DVDs in so long. I wonder if I have it.
Oh man. Anyway, how did you feel about the book movie way back then? Obviously, you liked it.
Yeah,
We liked
I liked it a lot.
How have your feelings changed?
It's funny, because I think a lot of people, I've heard other people say this too, about how Twilight really kind of got them reading again. And I think that was my experience too. It got me reading more frequently, and wanting to kind of get lost in story. But as far as how do I feel about it now? It's funny, because I think the book is fine. I don't love it, but I also don't think it's horrible. I mean, I feel like it's kind of on par with how books, like YA books, or at least what we were reading, I don't think that it's horribly written or anything. There are things that I think are, like saying I love you, like I think by chapter 5 or something, and I was
when
just
you're 17.
Well, yeah, it's just like,
and he's only ever said mean things to you.
I really like the tension and the slow, it's very rushed, and I get it. Again, it's you kind of have to, who's your audience? You have a bunch of teenagers, and they are going to want, they want instant gratification. So I guess it makes sense. But I remember, obviously I liked it before. I probably won't read it again. I mean, I also feel like, and we kind of talked about this, but I don't know how particularly likable the characters are. Like all of her friends are not likable. I mean, Bella's not in the book, she's not
not
bad as in the movie. And then even Edward isn't quite as bad as he is in the movie. At least not quite as annoying. But I also think they both in the book, they have more personality, which I think helps. So I don't know. What do you think?
I found myself extremely annoyed so many times when reading the book. And I felt like, and I know we're going to talk more about their characters, but I felt like their characters were, I don't know. I was, apparently I'm just going to dive right into Bella's character right now.
No, that's fine.
Bella's character, she is like, I don't know, a blank slate. She is like nothing. She is, she just like goes where the wind blows her. Like, oh, my mom is unhappy. I'm going to go to Forks, but I'm going to be miserable the whole time. But I'm also going to like be obsessed with this boy who's really mean to me and seems to think that I'm really stinky. And like her clumsiness, like it's an actual condition. Like, this is not real.
Yeah.
It's like funny. In the scene when she's running from her mom's house near the end, when she's running from her mom's house to the ballet studio, and she's like talking about how many times she trips and falls in this like however many blocks run. I'm like, that is ridiculous. You are in like upper adolescent girl. Yeah. You should not be tripping over your feet constantly. Like,
they made her clumsiness its own character.
Yeah. I couldn't get over it. And anytime she mentioned it, or anyone else mentioned it, or Edward made fun of her for it, or not, or like mentioned, like talked about how like keeping her alive was becoming his full-time job or whatever. And I was just like, oh my God, this is so annoying. Like, she's like a non-functioning person.
I have a question. I'm wondering, do you think that it's fair to say that our impressions of the story now are so off-putting or whatever because we had it built up in our heads for what it was 15 years ago, or
maybe so much better, like fantasy romance, vampire romance? I mean, I have read so many vampire, well, mostly urban fantasy, but like books that have romance and vampires since then that are actually dark and not like sparkly, but also like have like an actual plot that doesn't have something to do, that is not tied to like a teenager's crush and her willingness to throw away her life again on a boy that she just met a few months ago, and that
who thinks she smells
well, great apparently, but that's not what his expressions say. I mean, but at the point that she says she loves him, like he has maybe said like 3 nice things to her.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, that was ridiculous. The part that grated on me.
Yeah, I was like, how did we buy this? How did so many people buy into this romance?
I'm also wondering how much it plays into our opinions as well, because we write stories and we know what, like, we have our own standards, but we also have our readers have standards, like specific standards. And I know it's kind of a different readership, but it's also not like a lot of our readers would probably, and they have read and enjoyed, Twilight. But I don't know. It's just interesting. I think it says a lot about us as our age too, right? Like we are very aware of what is absolutely ridiculous or unrealistic versus, I don't know.
Like, she's just okay with the fact that he's been like sneaking into her bedroom and watching her sleep for months.
You're so angry.
This is not okay.
Yeah. That's so funny.
Yeah. So then I think I've just gotten so much more like feminist that like this hurt. It pains me to know that I liked this.
Oh.
This like weak, like I don't know. She like basically is ready to just like be absorbed into Edward's life and like give up everything that means anything to her. Like if anything really does mean anything to her, because like I said, she's just like blah blah blah. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I just like be your own person, you know? Like that's fine.
Yeah.
Fall in love. Great. Like, but
Yeah.
like still be a person.
Right.
Yourself. Have your own self-identity. So anyway, I'll stop railing on Bella.
No. I mean, but yeah, I think it just goes to show how much our tastes have changed too, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I guess I kind of knew that. I mean, it's pretty much what I expected going back and reading it again. I'm not necessarily let down, but it is funny to now having a new eyes and perspective reading it and just how like kind of silly it is, you know?
It's very silly.
Yeah. But you talked about Bella. I know. How do you feel about Edward? If
Oh my
you guys
God.
thought she didn't like Bella.
I hate him. I hate him. He is awful. He is toxic. Like when people say like, oh, that guy's toxic, like that's Edward. Edward is toxic. And Bella's just okay with it. Like,
Well, she is in love with him. Irrevocable. I can't even say
I
it.
knew 3 things.
I can't even say the damn word.
Edward was a vampire. What is it? Edward was a vampire, something else. And she talks about how like her life revolves around him now. And I'm just like, I don't know. The only time I feel like that's acceptable is like when you birth a child. Yeah. And then it is your responsibility to keep that child alive.
Well, you know, she's 17.
I know.
She's clueless.
I know. But that's the other thing about her character is she's 17, but she also feels like she's like 70. Like she doesn't have fun. She doesn't go do fun things. And she reads Jane Austen and Charlotte Bronte or whichever one of the Brontes, or like she's read like every classics book ever apparently by the age of 17, because she talks about how she just read Wuthering Heights again for fun, like because that's a fun read.
That's pretty depressing actually, isn't it? Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I feel like offended by my past self at this point. I'm offended, and offended that I loved Edward, you know, 20 years ago or 15 years ago or whenever it was that I read this. Like he is a terrible person. He's an ass. He's mean to her. Yeah. He's extremely like selfish, clearly, and I know he acknowledges that, but making all these decisions for her, like when she's like supposed to, sorry, I'm just like ranting.
No, go ahead. When
she's like supposed to meet up with her friends in Port Angeles at the restaurant, was that still Port Angeles in the book?
Yeah,
it was. Remember. And he's just like, I think Bella needs, not even I think, he was like, Bella needs to eat. Just like, okay, I think the girl can decide if she needs to eat. She can decide her own bodily needs. Thanks.
I think Bella needs to use the restroom now.
I know. I think Bella's thirsty. Bella has to go take a wee-wee.
Oh my God.
Anyway, how did you feel about Edward?
Yeah, I like I said in the book, at least he had kind of he was a little more fleshed out as far as a character, and he had a little bit more personality.
And not just like constant like stink face.
Yeah, in the movie, that was rough in the movie. I'm not gonna lie. Like that was really hard for me. And yeah, The movie's rough.
It was rough.
The movie's rougher than the
yeah.
book for sure for me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. I feel like the book is passable.
Oh my god. I wonder how many people who read it a long time ago still love it the way they used to. Because sometimes with nostalgic
I did some Googling to see, like, I looked up rewatching Twilight, and it was like basically like the same thing that we're saying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And actually, it was really funny. I was reading through this one chick's list on her blog, and she was like, she mentioned the mittens, the most largest mittens she's ever seen. And I was like, yeah, no shit.
They were like oven mitts.
Yeah. Oh my God. We could talk more about the movie details in a little bit.
Okay. But yeah, so I feel Edward was rough. I did, like I said, he wasn't quite as bad for me in the book, but in general, I mean, he wasn't an endearing character by any means. He was no one to rally behind. So
yeah. I will say some of the side characters are a little more fleshed out in the book too, which I think is pretty normal, but like I really like Emmett in the book. Emmett in the book is pretty fun.
Yeah.
And Jasper's way better in the book too.
Oh my God, I think I told you. All I could picture the entire time I was listening to the book was constipated Jasper's face from the movie. The whole time I was listening, and I was like, oh, this is so hard because I can't get it out of my head.
It's bad. But it's so funny.
Yeah.
Okay. So the book has a 4.7 star average with over 22,000 reviews on Amazon.
That's a really high rating for everybody who's not clear on that.
Yeah.
Almost 5 stars.
Yeah. Like I couldn't believe it. Do you think it deserves that?
I would be interested to know now. If I read it, no, no. But I'm also wondering, how old are these reviews? Because I also think there's something to be said about all that's changed in like just our society and culture in the last 20 years, and the people who us loving it 20 years ago or whatever, are new people flocking to this book and thinking that it's the cheese like we used to?
I don't know, but I would say for reference, I do want to talk about what you said about how much has changed in the last 20 years, but for reference, From Blood and Ash, which is extremely popular right now, has a 4.7 rating, and it has 47,000 reviews. So definitely like book culture and like book community culture, and I think book review culture has definitely grown a lot since Twilight came out. I find it heartening and like makes me feel kind of warm and fuzzy that I feel like Twilight, if it came out now, wouldn't be received in the same way that it was. That makes me feel good about like progress that we, at least as like the Western culture, have made.
Yeah, I would definitely be interested to see how that would work exactly. Because I think, even just how much the romance industry has changed. Like there's like expectations are like way different than they were 20 years ago. So even that, it's like it would probably have to be a completely different book in a lot of ways. But
yeah.
I think it's such a really cool, fun premise for a book. I think it, like, the whole time I kept thinking that as I was listening and watching the movie, and I was like, this is a really cool idea. It's just the execution, like, it's hard because as a writer, I would obviously do a lot of things different, but as a reader, obviously there are things that I wish that she had written different, but it's Stephanie Meyer's baby. Like, it's hard to just tear it apart, like, because it is a really cool story. I think
the premise is really cool. Can we also talk about, I'm going to tear it apart for a sec. Can we also talk about the fact that Bella literally passes out?
How many times?
Her heart stops when Edward kisses her. What?
Mm.
Wow. I cannot respect that girl.
Well, there were some things that I did like a little bit more about the movie that I liked that they had Jacob in it a wee bit more.
Yeah. And Jacob and Billy are there at the very beginning, so that's kind of fun.
Yeah, instead of halfway through or whatever.
Yeah. Is she still carrying her cactus at that point? I don't know.
Oh my gosh. I know we were talking about that when we were watching it. I was like, you can't get on a flight with a cactus in your hand. Like, where are you gonna put it?
Is that a weapon?
Anyway, that just goes to show how much
tiniest little cactus.
No, so I liked that.
Did you like Jacob's hair?
No,
his wig.
It's so weird.
And I didn't actually, sorry, I'm totally interrupting you. I didn't mention this because by the time I was typing it out in our chat while we were watching it, it was gone. Over. But did you notice Billy and Charlie like roughhousing in the street behind Bella and Jacob in that opening scene? I think it was in that first scene where we see.
Yeah, it's awkward.
I was like, what is going on?
It's so awkward. It's so awkward. I don't even know.
They're like, oh. There's like Billy in his wheelchair and like
that entire movie
like jumping
is
around
so
him.
Awkward. That entire movie is so awkward. Even down to the makeup. It's all very awkward.
I got the makeup. Okay, yeah. So let's talk about the costumes and the makeup.
Okay.
For a minute. So I think you had a great line in our chat that was something about like that nobody notices that all of the Cullens are just like dusted with a layer of flour.
I mean, that's what it looks. They're so ridiculously white, like, and it's just their faces. So
I know. I'm like, this is not attractive. Yeah. That's so funny. I don't know. I like there's many of the casting choices I find very strange. Starting with Bella and Edward. Like, I don't know what they were thinking. I did remember reading something where somebody said, I don't know if it was like the casting director or the director or who, but somebody mentioned what is that? It was based on a book that she was in.
Who? Bella,
Kristen Stewart, before Twilight, obviously. The one where the guy goes into the wild or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's called Into the Wild.
Well, I guess there's like a scene where she has a breakdown in there or something, and somebody was like, "Oh, she would be great for Bella." If only she ever showed that much emotion.
That's how they found her?
I don't know. I could be making that could just be a rumor story.
Oh, okay.
I know I heard that somewhere.
Well, that is funny because the only scene when she's really like having a breakdown is when she's like dying or whatever, right? I mean, she doesn't. Her breakdown doesn't come, like her big breakdown doesn't come until
book 2.
Yeah, when she dying in the woods.
Yeah. Again, she has literally defined herself by Edward.
Yeah.
Question. Yeah. Yes.
So we were very annoyed by the movie about how Bella just straight up just tells Charlie she's leaving, that she's hates him, that she loves Edward, to be nice to Edward. Like she just like makes all the adult decisions and nobody stops her. It's not like that. Is it like that in the book?
I don't feel like it's so much like she's the grown-up because Charlie, I actually think Charlie's a great character. I don't understand why, and maybe like the best acted role in the movie. I don't know. But like, I don't know why he is like just like letting his 17-year-old daughter, beyond the fact that he's like excited that she's chosen to live with him right now. But I don't ever see a cop dad in Washington being like, yeah, okay, like you go do, you want to go back, drive back home to Phoenix tonight because you got in a fight with your boyfriend, go for it.
Yeah.
Like,
They also really in the movie they built up the animal attacks and all that a lot. That was that even in the book?
I don't know, actually.
It definitely didn't have like because even the character who gets the guy at the creepy guy
Wayland. Oh my God. Creepy Santa.
even he's not.
Is he like a pedophile?
He definitely was strange and he was
Talking
awkward.
about how she sat on his lap when she was 4 and he was Santa, and then how the kids love those little bottles. I was like, is he giving kids alcohol?
I don't know.
What? Anyway,
but
yeah, no, I thought that they did a better job of like making that an actual thing in the movie. And also, where is James's shirt?
well, we talked about the budget, so
because they put it all into hair and makeup.
yeah, all in the flower and
the flower.
I like how we can talk all this crap like we've ever made a movie before, but
I know. Anyway, back to the talking crap. I do feel like you had a good point in our chat, which was that the cinematography was
yeah, that was
pretty
really beautiful.
Yeah, I mean it's a beautiful place. The Olympic Peninsula is a beautiful place. So it's hard.
I remember when I was watching it.
I don't actually think it was filmed in the Olympic Peninsula, but
I remember thinking, oh, is that what Washington looks like? Oh, I want to go there. It's so pretty.
I wonder if they filmed it in British Columbia.
I don't know. But anyway,
they look pretty similar. But yeah, pretty much. Well, now you've been here.
Yeah, it is very beautiful though.
Let's see here. I am gonna ask a question, but I won't ask that yet. I'm almost to the end of my questions, but I feel like I had a thought and I was gonna bring it up.
Hair, makeup, Charlie, Bella, Edward, brothers, sisters.
Okay, am I the only one who thinks that the baseball scene is like super ridiculous? Like their outfits.
Oh, they're out for in the movie, you mean?
Yeah.
Or in general?
And just in general, that this is like a scene in the book that this happened.
I mean, I guess it's kind of fun just to think about. But as we were watching, I'm thinking if they hit those balls that hard that they can only play during a thunderstorm, there is no way they are not going through a gazillion bats right now. Because
that in the book they mention are aluminum bats.
But
and
still,
I'm like, it's not a titanium bat. Like, I don't even think they make those.
It's just funny.
Maybe they do. I don't know. Also, I wanted to point out Alice's selective, like, prophecy ability. I don't know. I know that they say that it's not perfect or whatever, but it's very conveniently imperfect.
Yeah.
In terms of like not seeing Bella run off.
I do have to say this. My husband came in when I was watching it for just for a minute, and it was in the beginning, and Edward was being introduced, and he was staring at him, and the first thing out of his mouth was, "Look." He's like, "Wait a minute. So his hair is that big and tall, and he lives in the wettest state in the United States, and it's still standing upright. Like, how is that possible?" Laughing.
Yeah,
I was just laughing.
But I will say, I do remember in high school, so living in that state, I do remember in high school, guys having like, when I was in high school, it was like cool to have like super spiky, standy uppy hair, you know, with the bleached tips.
Yeah.
And I know they could do it,
but it's like poofy. It's not hard. It's like
theirs was hard, like a sculpture.
No, Edward's looks like windblown and poofy. Well, and then because they're so pale, there was a point where he was wearing a t-shirt, and I had made the joke about how crazy hairy Edward's arm was, and then my husband was like, "Wow, you're really judgmental," and I was like, "Dude, they made him as pasty white as you can get. He has covered in black hair on his arms. I can't help but notice. I have nothing against hairy men whatsoever. I'm just like, it's my eyes go right to black hair on white skin. Like I'm just like, I can't."
Yeah, in terms of like, and then like speaking of other visual choices that they made for the movie, Like the whole like Edward revealing his sparkly skin in the sunlight, and he's like, "This is it the face or the skin?" But like, he says one like either this is the face of a monster or of a killer, or this
I
is
think he
the
said I think he said face.
Oh my gosh, but it's so funny. He's like glittering, and he's like, "This is the face of a killer
Or whatever he
or
said.
a monster or something," and it's just like, ding. And she's like, "You're beautiful." Oh my gosh.
Man.
So awkward. And the awkward scene when they like lay down in the
Everything is
clearing.
awkward. Every single thing.
They're
That was
just,
the
like,
hardest thing in the
staring
whole
at each
movie
other.
for me.
Anyway, are you going to continue rereading this?
Oh, rereading? No.
How about rewatching?
Probably not. I mean, if it's on randomly, maybe, but I'm not gonna like sit down and do like a binge the Twilight series.
Cool.
You know, my list is far too long to be dabbling with that.
Yeah.
Of things I never watch. So
yeah. Do you have any?
How about you?
No, that's a hard pass.
I know. I was like, I feel like
I'm gonna take my copies probably to the like used bookstore at this point, free up some shelf space. I mean, my shelves are packed full, so I need that shelf space.
Those are thick boys too.
They are.
Oh,
So,
man.
yeah.
Too much.
Yeah.
We're really sorry for anybody who absolutely is in love with this story still.
I mean, I would say if you're still in love with the story, but you haven't read it in like 10 years, maybe give it a reread. It was definitely enlightening to reread it. Like I was never like, oh, I'm gonna like DNF my like 12th reread of this. So, you know, I still read it.
Does Stephanie Meyer even write anymore?
I think she did so I know she released Midnight Sun. Let's see here.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Edward's POV. That was in 2020.
Oh my gosh, I wonder how different that is, like writing wise. I mean, obviously the plot line has to all be the same, but
yeah, I don't know.
I'm kind of interested. I don't know, maybe I'll check that out. Just to see.
The Chemist?
I don't know.
I've never heard of this one. 2016. I know she had The Host. I never read that or saw that.
I saw it, but I never read it.
I don't see anything else besides those two things. It's like one of those cases of like you write one thing, you write something. It was her first book, right?
I think so.
And it became huge, and that became like how do you follow that up? Like you're bound to disappoint somebody at that point. And I think I remember Andy Weir talking about that after writing The Martian, and The Martian became huge, which is an amazing audiobook. If anybody has not listened to that audiobook, I know it's not like romance, but
yeah, I remember. I bet you she's actually been the inspiration for a lot of authors, because I remember her talking about how, this is before I was like publishing anyway, but I remember her talking about how she made it seem so easy. Like she just had a dream one night and woke up and she just couldn't stop writing. And I remember thinking, wow, is that how it's supposed to be? You know?
yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like a lot of people probably tried to and or started writing after that.
Yeah, I think that I don't mean to knock Stephanie Meyer when I lay into the book, I guess.
I'm just saying, like, because it was so big, there's so much about it. I remember there were websites, and there was like people were leaking photos of on set of,
oh yeah,
like,
I remember,
all that. Remember
everybody
that
was
craze?
so excited to see like Edward shirtless or something.
Yeah, and then come to find out they're really dating, and it was like this whole big thing. And
they were?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I think they were dating for years, actually. But anyway, yeah, I remember like all that. Interesting.
I remember reading fan fiction. I remember reading dirty fan fiction.
Isn't 50 Shades of Grey supposed to be?
Yes, 50 Shades.
I don't even get that.
It was I don't well, I've also never read it, but or seen the movie.
It's nothing like it.
But yes, it was originally Twilight fan fiction. So she must have changed quite a bit. like from fan fiction to actual 50 Shades of Grey, I assume.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I remember people saying that, and then I didn't finish. I started the first book and I didn't finish it because I couldn't really get into it. And I remember thinking, I don't get it. But like you said, she probably revised a lot and made it her own story. And
yeah, I'm sure editors were also like, we need to like change a lot of stuff so that we don't get slapped with a copyright lawsuit.
Anyway,
so I'm really glad we read that and watched that.
Yeah, it was a nice blast from the past.
Yeah, and also I will say the movie has like a lot of fun nostalgia kind of, and I genuinely like the soundtrack.
I know. I was like, oh, a little Linkin Park song came on at the end. That made my heart happy.
I thought of you.
Yeah.
As I was chatting with you.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, I bet LP likes us.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I love it. We should consider like some of the other books from way back when that we used to like and reread them and see what the difference is. See how we feel.
Like Suki.
Oh my God. I don't know.
I don't think what is the first one? It's not True Blood, is it?
I think so.
The first book is called True Blood?
I don't know.
Anyway, I couldn't take Bill. I couldn't handle Bill.
I'm fine. We don't need to do that one. I was thinking more like I totally forgot about that. No, I was thinking because I can't
Shatter Me.
Yeah, like the ones that I don't know
mean something to us.
Yeah, like I haven't read Shatter Me in probably 10 years.
Divergent. I never finished that series.
I didn't either, and
was so mad.
And it's funny because I think I maybe only actually read the first book because now the movies are everywhere, so it just seems pointless to read anything. Yeah. But
I think I've only seen the first 2 movies too. I have a signed first edition of the first book.
Nice.
It doesn't have the
I
dust
think I
jacket,
might
though.
too as well. Signed first edition? No, I don't think I have that.
Hardcover, yeah.
But like, because you were talking about Across the Universe, I haven't read that since I read it for the ARC.
Loved that book.
So anyway, I don't know.
Yeah, I still have there. I don't know if you can see. Oh, they're right.
Oh yeah, I can.
Here.
I can see them.
So I have the second book right here is still the ARC. And I've been looking for the hardcover of it whenever I go to the used bookstore. And then I found the third book in hardcover at the used bookstore.
I only have the first book. I have the second one too, but I haven't read the second one.
I did not read the third one. Well, because I had the ARC and then it was years until the third one was out. And then
what happens when you work at bookstores, guys. You get all these books that are coming out before they're even famous. You don't even know they're going to be famous, and then you read them and you like them, but then you have to wait at least a year for the next one to come out. And by the time, then you just forget. Well,
I've still only read the first 3 Shatter Me books, and now there's like 7 or something.
Yeah, same here.
So I really want to continue that. I think, I know this episode is going really long all of a sudden, but I think that like enemies to lovers shift that happened in that book was done so well. She did like it was like before Sarah J Maas. She pulled like a Sarah J Maas of like giving you one love interest and making you think that was like end game love interest, and then being like, whoop, now you hate him and here's a better one who you thought you hated.
Yeah. You know what's really cool? You know how I like that series, the Under the Never Sky?
I have that too.
So I think it was a 3-book series. I think I have all of them, but I haven't read the third one. But that was years ago. You know, Veronica Rossi's moved on to write other things, and she's actually putting out another book in that world now. So,
oh, fun!
Yeah, I'm excited.
We could revisit some of our YA like
old haunts.
Yeah, I mean, first also the Shatter Me audiobook is amazing.
Yeah, really, I remember liking it too.
So yeah, I would be really excited about doing that.
Hold on, Beast.
Any final thoughts?
No, but I think that if you have a copy, you should revisit it whenever you have time and just dive in and see how it goes.
Yeah, like I've said like 18 times now, it was enlightening.
Yeah,
really interesting it was like getting to have a conversation with a past version of myself. who was so different from who I am
well,
now.
another thing too is it's like, it's also, some people could really like it because it's an easy read. It's a very easy read.
Yeah.
So you could just breeze through it, even though it's a giant book.
Yeah.
So anyways, Beast is waking up and trying to claw out of my office now.
Fly out. Okay, so thank you for listening, everybody. Don't forget to check the show notes for this episode's links and book recommendations, and we will add all of those YA titles that we just talked about as well. We will be back in 4 weeks. So we are taking a break because Lindsey was supposed to be in Peru, but now she might not be, but
I might still be gone. I have no idea what is going on in my life.
So we were going to take off with what would be the next episode, and then we'll be back in end of January.
Yep.
To talk about a huge mega hit on Book Talk, which is Guild by Raven Kennedy.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited about that one because there's so much fan art out there, and it's like a little bit confusing. And I don't really understand. Like, she's got a lot of gold ribbons. I'm like, this chick shoots out gold ribbons? Like, what happens?
Yeah, I don't know. I've never read a Raven Kennedy book. I've heard a ton about it. I know that one of my narrators narrates is one of the narrators, because I think there's like 5 on the audiobook. One of my past narrators. So I'm interested to dive in, see what all the fuss is about.
Yeah.
And knowing me, I probably will not give way to I'll probably be anti-fuss, because that just seems to be my trending. I'm like an old cranky woman now. I like don't like anything.
I don't take it. If you're enjoying the show, we would love it if you left us a rating and or a review on iTunes, Spotify, where you can now leave ratings, or wherever you listen that allows for reviews. I think Audible does as well if you listen on Audible. So until next time, happy reading.
Happy reading, everyone. Happy holidays.
Oh yes, happy holidays, happy new year.
Chat with you in 2023.
Woo! Like what?